You know what? If you look at my last video, I just shaved my beard off because of Corona. I was inside and I just had to get rid of it. And now this is all new. So new Corona beard. Hey, okay, so now I think I figured this out. So yeah, I wanted to do an update. You saw my last Instagram video and podcast where I was saying that I wasn't buying any watches, except personally. Personally, I was, looking for whatever. I'm always trying to buy things, but as a business, it was hard for me to buy because I just didn't know where the market was going, when anything was going to get back to normal, and that's basically what had happened. So if I look here on my sales, I basically didn't sell anything for like a month, which is a little bit crazy. However, I noticed about 2 weeks ago that I started to get a lot of emails in, a lot of interest from various people. And the market definitely seemed to be picking up a little bit. So I bought a couple pieces here and there, and I've now sold quite a bit. I've sold 8 watches in the last 10 days, which is pretty decent. And honestly, if I were not like aware of what was going on outside, I wouldn't really think anything of it. It's just kind of normal around here, which is pretty amazing. And I think that there's a decent chance that I have my finger on this at this point. So what I'm starting to notice a lot is I'm getting emails from collectors that are just kind of finding the independents. Now, this was a hypothesis that I put forth, I guess a couple videos ago, that I thought that, well, you know me, I'm always thinking that the time for the independents is coming, right? People are finding more and more out about this, and I really think that this is the interesting area to be in. But I think what's happening is that a lot of people have had time to do more research now, and they're more and more coming across these independents and this much more interesting area. So we all have concerns about the economy going forward. Obviously, we're in the middle of a once in a century event. And none of us really know where this thing's going. However, I think for most people, if they're not in like the event industry or restaurants or whatever, the stock market is still really strong. A lot of businesses are doing kind of fine, surprisingly. Certainly, we're not at the point where people who were wealthy are now not wealthy, and you can bring whatever politics you want into this. I'm not going to get into politics here, but the reality is that people are not generally hurting that much, and I think that even if let's say demand for independence drops, or my normal customer base demand drops a little bit due to macroeconomic reasons, I think that there's a huge group of new demand flooding into the market, basically. And that's going to more than make up for it in this area. So I'm seeing, if I look here, my last 3 sales were 4. My last 4 sales were to people that I had never sold to before, new customers. And all were saying how they wanted to start getting into the independents. They were telling me about the Pateks and the Langas and Audemars Piguets and other brands that they had, and that they wanted to get into an MB&F, an Urwerk, a Resence, a Sarpaneva, all of these things. So I think this is really, really, really positive. I think it's positive extremely positive for my business, obviously. I'm happy to keep things going. I was getting a little bit bored. It's boring not being able to buy and sell things. And I think it's really strong and a good sign for the brands themselves. I think there is going to be a lot of demand there. And you may actually see kind of a run on some of these things because a lot of the factories have been closed, and so there will likely be a bit of a period where supply is limited, and now there's all of this new demand flooding in. So that'll be really interesting for the market for these little guys coming out of all this. And overall, I think it probably is good for kind of the world as a whole. It's a good sign that people are staying upbeat, that they are being optimistic, that they're looking forward to get back to things and living, kind of a nice life that we all want to live. And also that people are being careful and smart with their money. So they're going to more and more look for real value in things. And I think that the independents are where the real value is in the watch industry. This is the area where, the stuff is actually good. You pay a lot of money for a watch and you really get something that somebody's poured their heart and soul into and isn't trying to just take your money. So, okay, I'll go to some questions because this is an interesting one. If part of buying independent watchmakers is supporting them in their art, doesn't buying pre-owned fail to support them? Profit is going to you and not them. Yeah, that's totally true. However, you need a secondary market to support the primary market. So if you talk to most independents, they are, and rightly so, interested in their secondary market and maintaining a healthy secondary market. People don't feel comfortable giving them money if there's nowhere for them to go with that watch eventually. And so I do think that responsible secondary market dealers play a really big role in the overall health of the independent watch market and the watch market in general. But obviously our sandbox is a lot smaller, so everything's more important. Hey Silas. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm interested. I need to get on the phone. I mean, Collected Man is in here. Interested to hear if you want to type in if you've seen similar in sales picking up recently. That's what I was just talking about before you came in. But yeah, it's been really strong. Let's see. I had a question over on YouTube about service. But I'm not really sure exactly what the question is. Like, what about service? I think I covered service overall in my last podcast, so I'll leave that alone. A couple of interesting things on this end. A big watch online publication is doing a cool story on one of my watches still, which is exciting for me to see. I'm interested in the kind of journalism behind it and to see what they dig up. So that's exciting coming up. If you guys have seen my website recently, you've seen a bunch of new additions, including really beautiful Kari Voutilainen and this Beat Haldeman, which I've actually only ever, I've sold one other of his pieces ever, and I never actually had it in stock. I helped connect a buyer and a seller, so this is the first one I've ever had in stock. And he's a really remarkable guy that most people don't even know about. He actually hand makes watches, which is something that doesn't happen anymore. So I'll try to make a video review of that one fairly soon. Yeah, interesting. So this from Instagram again, sensible buying rather than impulse. That's exactly what I'm seeing, and I think that that plays perfectly into independent watchmaking, because these are not things that people usually impulse buy. The stuff that I sell, normally people do a lot of research on, they think about a lot, it's well considered. You can impulse buy a 5711 Nautilus for 50 grand when you know that the next day you'll sell it for 53 if you want. So that's where people impulse buy. They don't think of anything, they don't whatever. Then of course the music stops, and whoever's holding that sort of stuff gets crushed. This sort of stuff is much more considered. It takes time. It takes time for people to learn about it, to seek it out, to get all the data necessary to understand a Kari Voutilainen, a Beat Alderman, a Grubel Forsey, all of these things. And so the more the market tends towards well-researched, well-considered purchases, I think the better it is for independent watches. So yeah, I'm glad to see that point. People should be careful with their money. It's what I've been preaching forever on my podcast. Is one of my kind of big drivers in all of this is that I really don't think that people should spend this much money on, just kind of pure luxury fluff. I really think that it's morally obligated, if you're going to spend this much money on something like a watch, that you really think about who and what you're supporting with those dollars. And to me, the type of thing that we want to support are these independent watchmakers. I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about with the PPP in America or whatever, like supporting small business. These are real entrepreneurs that this is the stuff that we want to continue. It's the richness of the industry. It's the thing that makes it interesting to exist. So yeah, the more considered people are, the more I think they'll go into this. This is why I don't tell people what to buy. I try to just explain how to think about finding value and what is the good stuff. And then once you do, I think that will then lead you to kind of want the stuff that I'm selling. And that is a virtuous circle, and it makes it worthwhile for me. But I never hard sell any of the stuff that I actually have. I buy it because I like it. I sell it because I think you will like it. And I'm just trying to educate people so that they understand why I like it and why I think they will like it. So anyway, I just wanted to give that update because I posted, several people wrote on my post recently like, oh, I thought you weren't buying and this and that. And the answer was I wasn't. But things change really quickly, and they have definitely noticeably changed here. I've talked to a few other dealers. They've seen similar. The market looks pretty good right now, and I'm back in. So that's exciting for me. I'm glad to be able to share it with you. I'm going to try to make some videos soon. It's been hard for me because a lot of my watches are in the bank vault, and it's not easy to get in right now. It's like a whole process to actually get into the bank and get into the vault and whatever. So I do have a schedule of a few videos that I'm going to try to make coming up. So that's what I got here. That's it. I'll update you guys soon. Thank you.